Welcome back, guys. So I see a lot of people taking and pouring epoxy resin on these dandelion sprouts, and I think it's pretty cool, but I think we can do better. This is a salsify, as far as what I can tell when I look it up anyways. And that's what I'm gonna do, is pour it in resin. So let's get to it. So just like a dandelion, these things fall apart pretty easy. So I'm going to take some CA glue and load it up in this syringe that has a 2.5 inch needle, and I'm going to attempt to glue the center of it. And I'm going to make sure to push out the air first. And this took a lot of patience, but it actually worked really well. I had this beautiful piece of walnut that I wanted the wood grain to show through. It didn't end up working in the end, but that's alright. So after trimming it, I just took and glued it into the walnut, trying to use up what CA glue was left in there. Now at first I was going to try this with a plastic bottle, but when I went to glue it, it ended up deforming, as you can see here. So that plastic wasn't going to work. I did say in a previous video that I wanted to use a plastic from one of these vinegar containers again. It's a good thing the wife loves to clean with vinegar. This didn't quite have the circumference I needed, so I took and cut it, and this way I can adjust it. And just test fitting it in there, I figured out where I wanted it, and I temporarily taped it up to make sure. And then I did put a bead of hot glue down it so that way it wouldn't leak. And I put a few dabs around it to hold it in place before I doing a bead all the way around it. I actually ended up doing a couple beads all the way around it just to make sure. I also ended up adding some tape just because I was a little paranoid that it was going to stretch and let loose, or that the heat might heat up the hot melt glue. So now I put this on an old Tupperware lid so that way it wouldn't leak all over the table or anything if it did spill out. And I'm just going to take and pour the first layer. Then I put a cover on it so that way no dust or dirt would get in. First pour looked good, so I decided to do another. Now I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of pulled away from the sides. It looks really yellow. I thought it was ruined, and my son, he was like, just do it, just do it. He said, maybe it'll turn out. So I kept on going. I think one of the things I was stressed about is not having a vacuum chamber or a pressure pot, that I'd end up with a ton of bubbles in this. I don't know, maybe I should make one. So it was looking really good from the top, but I wasn't sure about that yellow layer and stuff, so here's where we're gonna find out. At this point it's looking way better than I thought, so I thought I'd proceed. This is not how I would recommend to do this if you were gonna take and do one. But if you're really careful, you can do some things with power tools you shouldn't. Wait a minute, my mask is there, and moving on. A few marks I don't like on the side, but I'm thinking they'll come out. So I had full intent to sand this down, going through the grits. Start off with 800, went to 1000, 1500. I'll leave all the information for the polishing stuff in the description. I think I did this for about 5 minutes, and then I decided to use my automatic sander. And here she is, hard at it. Now after getting this sanded and polished, it's done. Alright guys, now this was my first resin project of this caliper, so you know, there's some things that I could improve on in the future, but I still like how it turned out. I think I might take and drill some LEDs, or some holes in the bottom for some LEDs, and I don't know, maybe next time I think it should be in a square so that that way you can see it, and maybe have some on the sides so that that way you get an idea of the size of it, because it is actually that big. And I see some people do dandelions and by the time they round it over, it looks like it's a lot bigger than what it is. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.